Yeah. So like one of the things I've been considering, and it's something that like actually speaks quite a lot to your sort of point about speech versus reach, is like towards the end of my book, I kind of suggest that we should probably ban political advertising online. And that seems super like extreme. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you think that's a good idea. And either potentially in like the PERDA period in the lead up to elections, or just altogether. Because like when I think about like we had like 50 years ago or 60 years ago, the television was invented, right? And then after a little while, we decided that we were just not going to allow political advertising on television in the UK, because we felt that you shouldn't be able to sit behind or sit in front of a TV camera and campaign from there. It shouldn't be as easy as paying for adverts. That the politics belonged on the doorstep. And now we have, like in the case of Vote Leave, we had Dominic Cummings and his little team of physicists from Aggregate IQ working very hard and spending like over half their budget on like digital advertising. We're to the point where they can just sit behind their laptop and campaign from there. And it just, I don't understand why we allow it, because like if we believe that like it's dangerous, which the DCMS committee report has that like chaired by a Tory, like it's not just like Labour like whinging about it, has suggested that this is really dangerous, especially when you got dark ads, things that people can't see, where you have the ability to micro target it to like the perfect like wording that you can learn like through A/B testing, like the perfect like wording and graphic and colors and like different like uses of like every single possible iteration that you can imagine of an advert, and test it and figure out the most like emotional, engaging way of putting it to like get anyone to click on it. And the fact that they can do that, and we have no desire to ban it when we think that on TV it's too much, is insane to me. Like, do you think that's crazy to suggest that we should just ban the political advertising, or yeah?
Well, I think in the current operating model and context, I agree. But I think that our goal should be to change the context. And so what our report called for after taking extensive evidence was that there should be a temporary ban until actual rules are in place, particularly around transparency. And also like the transparency piece is about like who's sent me this and why, right? Which is just in no way is anything about political advertising online transparent. The second is it true or not? And this is where we just get ultimately hung up again, because for some reason, again, we've lost the ability to believe in the idea of objective truth, right? So if you look at some of those Vote Leave ads, I mean, you know, Syria borders Turkey. Turkey is going to enter the EU soon. None of like, yes, Syria geographically borders Turkey. Turkey is not imminently entering the EU. Turkey's going to enter the EU, and then 100 million Turkish people are all going to move to the UK. Like, what? I mean, so if we can't agree that, you know, you should be delivering truth, then maybe you shouldn't be allowed to deliver anything. The third factor is who is classified as a political advertiser, right? So Facebook's making this decision. For example, the Electoral Commission, the election regulator in the UK, is classified as a political advertiser. They're not a political advertiser. They're trying to get people to vote and tell them how. There's nothing political about that. But suddenly, even how to vote is politicized. So, and then the last piece, of course, is targeting, as you mentioned. So we said that political advertising the only thing you should be able to use is someone's postcode. And that's simply because your postcode is associated with who and what you're voting for. But other than that, you don't know anything else about people on the doorstep, right? You know where they live, and maybe through canvassing you've learned more. But I think that especially in the COVID context, there is a worry around stifling political conversations because people can't be on the doorstep. And then the other half of that is, it is the first time that smaller parties can actually really compete. And I think that's important, because again, what we see on social media is exactly the same thing we've always seen in real life. Anything that starts democratized, so look at radio, TV to a lesser degree, but still more than it is now, they all end up being consolidated to a few powerful actors, both in terms of companies and reach. And so in terms of reach, we're working on some research now that's looking at the actual, the idea that actually disinformation on social media isn't a widespread problem. It's actually a very focused problem with a few hundred actors only, all significant media or offline media organizations or political figures. And you see the proof in the pudding, right? I mean, they banned Trump from Twitter. Election disinformation dropped 78% the week that followed. So, not all harm is created equal.
I mean, that's probably also because the election was done. As soon as they removed him, Biden had been he'd been sworn in, right? Or he was on the verge of being sworn in. No,
no, it was still 2 weeks away.
2 weeks away. Okay.
Yeah, from the ban and then I was just going to say, I think the middle ground is to treat it like TV and consider something like party political broadcasts, right? So every party gets one thing for Facebook, for example, and it's fact checked.
Thanks so much for listening. If you haven't already and you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast and to our mailing list. And don't forget, my book, Brexit, The Establishment Civil War, is now available for pre-order on Amazon. You'll find the link in the description below. Until next time, thanks so much for listening.